The 2021 Missing Voices Alliance report had several recommendations. The first related to specific cases where there are people seeking justice from the courts. And in many cases, those survivors or the families of victims have been waiting for up to 3 to 4 years for justice. And I think that has been the first concern that we have. That delayed justice, of course, is denied justice. The second recommendation has been the implementation of 2 pieces of legislation that were generated in 2017. And the first was the National Coroner Service Act. The idea here is really to create an independent coroner's office that is able to investigate suspicious crimes and independently produce information that could lead to conviction, particularly in cases where we have police officers or other state officers who are responsible for deaths. And the second law is the Prevention of Torture Act. These 2 laws have essentially been passed by our National Assembly, but not operationalized. And so they are not functioning pieces of legislation. The third area relates to increasing, administrative action on police officers that betray their oath of office. When we launched the report in Nakuru this year, it was really sad to hear many families talking about how long it's taken for them to get justice, and how they are beginning to despair. And in some cases, there are witnesses that are beginning to lose interest in the case. And in many of these cases, it is witness testimony that is most important for convictions. So I think that is one of the concerns. But, well, you know, it's been a year since we went before the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, and we made a number of recommendations. And we listed probably about 30 cases of people who had been disappeared. And looking back, we've had some successes. There are 4 or 5 cases of people we listed in those reports that were eventually released and returned home to their families or were prosecuted. But in many, many cases, we still do not have answers. We do not have answers for the many bodies that were floating down the Yala River. We also do not have answers for the case of Samson Tekle Michael, the Eritrean, the Ethiopian that was plucked from the streets of Kileleshwa. So one of the areas of progress that Missing Voices can be proud of is that I think we have begun to chip away at this argument within the public sometimes that, you know, it is necessary to execute suspects, either suspects of serious crimes or suspects of terrorism, rather than them facing the law. I think there is a growing sense that we need to change the criminal justice system. We need to make sure that the investigators do their work professionally, that they are also above any form of corruption. We need to make sure that prosecutors also bring cases to court as quickly as possible. And lastly, we need to make sure that judges are essentially not swayed by anything other than the evidence that is before them. We also need to look at the detention centers and the prisons, because in some cases we've seen we've heard stories of people being actually released despite the fact that they've either been convicted or they're being held because of serious crimes. So I think there is an ecosystem approach that's required in order to fix this problem, and essentially identifying 80 special service unit officers to execute, without recourse to the law, or to disappear people in detention centers that are not gazetted. That is not the way that you build confidence in the criminal justice system.